When I was first discovering love, I was forcefully seduced by my sister's best friend. She told me I was her destiny. Over the next 7 years, I fell completely for her, and she showered me with a unique kind of affection. But no matter what I said, she would never agree to meet my family. At first, I thought she just didn't know how to break the news to them, until the night I went to pick her up when she was drunk. Her friend pointed at me and said with a sigh, "How did such an innocent kid get tangled up with Chloe too? Listen, kid, whatever you do, don't fall for Chloe. That woman has no heart. You, her last boyfriend, the one before that, you're all just stand-ins for her first love." It was like a lightning bolt had struck me. After asking around, I finally learned the whole truth. It turned out Chloe and a man named Julian Vance were each other's first love. The year her love for him was deepest, Julian broke up with her and abruptly moved out of the country. She couldn't move on from the past, so she let herself become a player, flitting from one relationship to the next. Every boyfriend she had bore some resemblance to Julian, and that included me. That very night, I decided to go home and agree to the arranged marriage. "Amelia, I've agreed to the marriage arrangement." Hearing this, my sister Amelia on the other end of the line finally sounded relieved. "You're finally breaking up with that girlfriend of yours? You've been together for years and she never once agreed to come home and meet Mom, Dad, and me. I always knew it would never work out." Hearing the certainty in my sister's voice, I lowered my gaze and answered quietly, "I was wrong before. I'll wrap things up here as quickly as I can. Please go ahead and arrange the wedding. Just give me 2 weeks. Don't you worry about the wedding, we'll handle all the preparations. You just need to be back on time. The woman we've arranged for you to marry was carefully chosen by Mom, Dad, and me. Her family, personality, and looks are all top-notch. I'm sure you'll approve. Oh, and when you come back for the wedding, make sure you invite someone for me. My old best friend, Chloe Davis. You remember, when you went to college in New York, you even stayed with her for a while. She took great care of you, so make sure you invite her to the wedding." I didn't know how to respond. After a long silence, I finally answered in a low voice, "She can't make it." Before the words were even out of my mouth, the door swung open. I quickly hung up the phone and looked up to see Chloe, who had just walked in. She raised an eyebrow, a bold smile playing on her defiant face. "I can't make it? To what?" "To my wedding, of course," I answered silently. But on the outside, I remained perfectly calm and said lightly, "It's nothing." Chloe didn't think anything of it, casually peeling off her stockings. "Were you just on the phone with your sister?" I mumbled a yes and started to head to my room, but she grabbed my hand and pulled me into a hug. Her warm breath tickled my ear, and an intimate energy flowed between us. "So, did you tell her about us?" I smiled, but it was a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "I thought you didn't want her to know." "It's not that I don't want to, it's that I can't. Knowing your sister, if she found out her best friend was with her precious little brother, she'd be on the next flight to New York to end our friendship." Hearing her joking tone, my eyelashes fluttered slightly, but my voice remained steady. "So in your mind, am I your boyfriend?" Surprised by my sudden question, Chloe raised her eyebrows. "Not your boyfriend? Have I been living with you for 6 years for nothing? Do I hug you the second I walk in the door for nothing? Do I do this to you for nothing?" As she spoke, her warm lips grazed my neck. My body went rigid. I quickly turned my head away from her kiss. "I'm tired today." Chloe thought I was just being shy and chuckled. "My sweet boy, we've been together this long and you're still this bashful?" She stood on her toes, ruffled my hair, and then turned to head for the bathroom. As her footsteps faded away, I whispered to myself, "Boyfriend? Or just a substitute?" The next morning, my internal clock woke me at 7 sharp. I opened my eyes to see Chloe in front of the mirror, adjusting her blouse. Her sleep schedule was always a mess. As far as I could remember, this was the first time she'd ever been up this early. Hearing me approach, she turned around. "How do I look today?" She had a model's figure. Even a simple black shirt looked amazing on her. But today she had made a special effort and was breathtakingly beautiful. A single glance from her could make any guy's heart stop. I had no idea why she was suddenly so focused on her appearance. In the past, the sight would have made my heart race, but now I just nodded calmly. "Yeah, you look great." Chloe didn't notice anything was off. She smiled. "I have a reunion today. You be good and stay home. I'll bring you back a treat." With that, she turned and left. After she was gone, I went to get a glass of water and saw she'd left her phone on the table. As I picked it up, I accidentally hit the power button. The screen lit up, showing a new message from a contact saved as Julian. "Chloe, it's been 8 years. I'm really looking forward to seeing you today." "You too." My feet froze when I read the message. So, her first love was back in the country. No wonder she was up so early, so meticulously dressed. There was a genuine joy in her eyes. A moment later, the door opened again. Chloe had come back for her phone. She glanced at the screen before she left, paused for a second, then looked over at me. "Did you see my phone?" I looked up, my expression neutral. "No." "Why?" She smiled then, as if relieved, and said, "It's nothing," before leaving again. For the first time, I felt like I couldn't understand her at all. Her heart belonged to her first love, and every boyfriend was just a substitute for Julian. Logically, she shouldn't care about me at all, so why would she care if I found out the truth? Was she afraid of losing me? I didn't want to flatter myself. Besides, I knew that losing her was already a certainty. After breakfast, I sat down at my computer and opened my illustration software. I'm a comic artist. Once I go home, I'll be busy with the wedding and probably won't be able to work for a long time. I decided to use this free time to finish my remaining pages. I worked all morning, sent the files to my editor, and then had lunch. The weather was nice, so I decided to clear things out. I filled a large box with all the little things I'd bought over the years. Looking at them, I remembered the resigned look in Chloe's eyes whenever I'd get something new and insist she try it on. "This is stuff for cute little girls, Ethan. Do you really want me to wear this out and have my friends laugh at me?" Remembering that, I dragged the box downstairs and threw the whole thing into the dumpster. There. Now no one would laugh. Having dealt with it decisively, I turned to go back inside and ran right into Chloe. Chloe, who must have just gotten back, wrapped an arm around my shoulder and brushed my sweaty bangs from my forehead with her other hand. "What did you throw out? You're covered in sweat." "Just some useless junk," I said, my face a mask. Chloe didn't seem to suspect anything and pulled me back upstairs. "Junk? How could there be that much junk?" A single glance would have been enough to know something was up, but she didn't ask. She just didn't care enough to. A flicker of self-deprecation crossed my mind. I caught sight of the smile that still lingered on her face and froze for a moment. Chloe had captivating eyes that made it impossible to look away when she smiled. Maybe she knew this because she was almost always smiling. Everyone thought she was good-natured, but I was the only one who knew her smiles were just a facade, never truly reaching her eyes. But today, all day long, her smiles were filled with a genuine, heartfelt joy. She must have been really happy to see Julian. The moment we walked in, Chloe noticed how empty the apartment felt. She looked around, surprised. "Did we get robbed? It feels like a lot of stuff is gone." I was about to answer when Chloe's phone buzzed several times. She glanced at her messages, immediately forgot about the missing things, and headed to the study. I didn't say a word and went back to my room by myself. The clock on the wall struck midnight, and the phone under my pillow started vibrating nonstop. "Ethan, happy birthday." "Happy 23rd birthday, Ethan. Don't forget to have some cake." I scrolled through a long list of birthday wishes. My dad, my mom, my sister, friends, classmates, people thousands of miles away had all sent their wishes. Only my girlfriend, who was right here, seemed to have forgotten, because she had more important things to do. I closed the movie I was halfway through on my laptop and clicked on the iMessage icon that kept popping up in the corner of the screen. She didn't know her iMessage was synced to the laptop, so I could see all her conversations. I watched as the two of them talked about the past, the present, and the future. In the long, dense stream of messages, Chloe never mentioned me once. Of course. After all, I was just a substitute, a temporary comfort. Why would she bring me up? I stared at the constantly updating wall of text, then shut the laptop down. I slept dreamlessly. The next day, the doorbell woke me up. I rubbed my eyes and walked into the living room to see Chloe, who must have woken up earlier, turning around with a bouquet of flowers and a birthday cake. "Ethan, did you order a cake? What's the special occasion?" The room was silent for a few moments before I spoke slowly. "It's my birthday. A friend must have sent it." Hearing that, Chloe froze. She instinctively glanced at the calendar on the wall and realized it was July 12th. She had completely forgotten my birthday. A flicker of guilt crossed her face. She quickly put down the cake and flowers and pushed me toward the bedroom. "It's your birthday, we're going out to celebrate. What do you want to eat?" "We don't have to. We can just celebrate here," I said, declining her offer. But Chloe insisted on going out and even pulled a suit from my closet for me to wear. I couldn't argue with her, so I got ready and went out with her. We went to our favorite restaurant for brunch, then saw the newest movie, and walked around the mall for a while. I went to the restroom, and when I came back, I saw her on the phone, asking someone to order a very expensive ring for her. It was the exact ring I had pointed out in a magazine 2 weeks ago. Seeing her eagerness, I felt a complicated mix of emotions. I didn't understand what went on in her head. She'd remember a necklace I glanced at for a few seconds, but completely forget my birthday, the most important day. Did she really not know which was more important? On second thought, she probably could tell. Before Julian came back, she had poured all her feelings into me, her substitute, so she paid attention to every little detail. But now that he was back, all her focus was on him, and anything to do with me was pushed aside. I was listless all morning, finding no joy in anything we did. Chloe noticed my distraction. She stood on her toes and ruffled my hair. "Why does the birthday boy seem so down? Are you not happy with my plans for today?" Thinking back, she always loved to ruffle my hair. Subconsciously, maybe she always saw me as a little brother, not a lover. I shook my head. I was about to say I was tired and wanted to go home, but Chloe hailed a cab and gave the driver an address for a lodge up in the hills. Seeing my surprised look, she raised an eyebrow. "You've always said you wanted to meet my friends, right? Everyone's free today, so I'm taking you to meet them. Will that cheer you up?" This sudden change of plans left me a little stunned. In the past, when Chloe refused to meet my family, I suggested meeting her friends instead. But she always had an excuse. Eventually, I stopped asking. And now, just as I was about to leave New York for good, she was finally taking me, all because of a little guilt. Life is full of strange ironies. I quietly watched the scenery blur past the window and said nothing. The taxi stopped halfway up the mountain. Chloe led me into the lodge and pushed open the heavy doors. With a series of pops, confetti and streamers rained down from above. A noisy crowd spilled out, all of them grinning and shouting, "Happy birthday!" Seeing the commotion, Chloe quickly pulled me behind her, picking streamers out of my hair while shooing her friends away. "Hey, watch it! Don't scare him, he's shy." Her words died in her throat as she spotted a familiar face in the crowd. Her expression changed instantly. Julian, however, looked completely at ease. He walked up with a smile. "Chloe, I've been away for so long, I haven't been to a party in ages. When I heard you were celebrating your boyfriend's birthday, I thought I'd stop by. I hope you don't mind." Chloe's cold gaze swept across the room. One by one, her friends looked away, suddenly finding other things to focus on. As the mood grew tense, I politely extended my hand. "Welcome, it's nice to meet you. I'm Ethan." Julian stared at me for a long moment before a knowing, half-smile crossed his face. He shook my hand. "Hello, I'm Julian Vance, a friend of Chloe's." "Ethan, has anyone ever told you we look a little alike?" At his words, Chloe's grip on my arm tightened, but my expression remained calm. "Is that so? What a coincidence." Seeing the mood sour, the others quickly tried to liven things up. The group of friends started drinking and playing games, getting louder and louder. I didn't know anyone and wasn't in the mood to socialize, so I just sat on the couch. Chloe stayed by my side, but her eyes kept drifting to a table on our left. I followed her gaze and saw Julian, who was at the center of the loudest group. First, she held back, but when Julian picked up his glass, she couldn't stay seated any longer. She shot up, went over, and snatched the drink from his hand. "You're allergic to alcohol and you're drinking? Are you insane?" Her voice was so sharp that the entire room went quiet, and all eyes turned to them. Julian toyed with the dice in his hand, a playful smirk on his lips. "You still remember that after all these years?" Before Chloe could answer, one of her drunk friends stumbled over, shouting, "Of course she remembers. When you two were dating, the poor girl was crazy about you. She only had eyes for you." Hearing this, Chloe instinctively glanced back at me. Her face darkened, and she snapped at her friend, "You're drunk. Go sober up instead of talking nonsense." The sharp rebuke sobered them up a bit. They finally seemed to notice I was there and quickly tried to smooth things over. All right, let's play another round. Come on." The tense atmosphere in the room finally began to thaw. Suppressing whatever she was feeling, Chloe came back to the couch and handed me a glass of juice. I didn't say anything, didn't ask anything. I just took the glass and took a sip. My calm demeanor seemed to make her even more anxious. She was about to say something, but was interrupted by another shout from the group. "Julian lost. My turn to pick. Let's see, you got truth. The question is, if you could, would you get back together with your ex?" In the dead silence that followed, Julian looked directly at Chloe and said, enunciating every syllable, "Absoluta, why not?" The words hung in the air, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 20 degrees. No one dared to speak. Julian, however, acted as if nothing had happened and called for another round. The others nervously played along, stealing glances at Chloe, whose face was so dark it looked like she was about to explode. In the next round, Julian lost again. Just as he was about to take his penalty, Chloe couldn't take it anymore. She grabbed his hand and stormed out of the room. The others seemed to have expected this and didn't say a word, just went back to their own conversations. But through the large window, I could see their two figures arguing in the distance, their angry but indistinct voices carrying on the wind. Watching them, I felt a wave of complicated emotions. In all the time I'd known her, Chloe had always seemed so carefree, with that lazy, indifferent smile always on her face. In 8 years, I had never seen her lose control like this. And it was all because Julian had said absolutely not. Turns out we're all just as pathetic when we're not loved back. In the end, Chloe seemed to be furious and stormed off without a backward glance. When Julian came back alone, everyone knew the party was over and started making their excuses to leave. And I, the guest of honor who had been completely forgotten, stood up amidst the chaos. Before I left, I went to the restroom. From inside the stall, I heard footsteps approaching outside. A moment later, I heard the voice of one of the guys from the party. "Julian, you obviously still love Chloe. You came back for her. Why would you say that to her? You made her storm off. How are you supposed to get back together now?" After the sound of a faucet running, Julian's voice, laced with a smirk, replied, "If we don't fight, how will she remember how it felt 8 years ago? I need her to remember that gut-wrenching pain of loving someone she can't have. That's how I'll make sure she never forgets me." Dude, it's been 8 years. How much more unforgettable can you get? Every guy she's dated looks just like you. This one she brought today, even though they've been together a while, it's obvious she's not serious. It's his birthday, and Chloe's eyes have been glued to you all night. The poor birthday boy is practically invisible. It's hilarious. Julian chuckled at his friend's teasing. "You don't get it," he said softly. "The Davis family is one of the biggest names in New York. Chloe is beautiful, smart, the whole package. Her family would never approve of someone with my background. They'll find her a husband who's her equal in every way. This is the only way to make sure her heart belongs to me completely. We fought today, sure, but in a few days after she's cooled off, I'll give her an easy way back, and she'll come running, all forgiven." The words had barely left his mouth when the restroom door swung open. I stood there, just a few feet away, looking right at them. Hearing the noise, they all turned from the sinks. When Julian saw me, he froze for a long moment before forcing a smile. "Ethan, what are you doing here? You didn't happen to hear any of that, did you?" I met his gaze, walked slowly to the sink, and said flatly, "I heard every word." Julian's face turned ugly, clearly not expecting me to be so direct. His friends sensed the shift and looked ready to step in for him. I turned on the faucet, cutting them off before they could speak. "You can't scheme your way into someone's heart." My words left him speechless. His disdainful eyes scanned my face, lingered for a moment on the mole near my eye, and then he seemed to relax, dropping the act entirely. He sneered, "You're just a substitute. You've never even had her love. What right do you have to talk to me about sincerity?" "Yeah," one of his friends chimed in. "I wonder who's the one who got abandoned here in the middle of nowhere. Pretty pathetic boyfriend, if you ask me." After a few more taunts, the three of them left. I didn't go after them. Chloe played with my heart, and Julian played with hers. Maybe it was just karma. I walked to the entrance to get a ride, but then I remembered we were at a remote lodge. Sure enough, all the rideshare apps showed no cars available. And I don't know if Julian had planned it with Chloe's friends, but a dozen cars drove right past me, and not one of them even slowed down. As Julian got into the last car, he rolled down the window and shot me a triumphant look. I understood then, this was his revenge. I just smiled and started walking down the mountain on foot. I cleared my mind and let the memories wash over me, playing out like scenes from a movie, making everything feel unreal. I suddenly wondered, how would Chloe feel if she knew that the 8 years she'd spent torturing herself over her first love were all just part of Julian's manipulative game? By the time I got home, it was already 8 at night. I took off my shoes and winced at the blisters on my feet. I hissed as I got out the first aid kit. After tending to my feet, I was exhausted. I washed up and went straight to bed. When I woke up the next day, nothing in the apartment had changed. I wasn't curious where Chloe had gone. I got up, redressed the cuts on my feet, and just as I finished, Amelia called. "Ethan, did you go to bed early last night? You didn't answer my texts. Listen, your fiancée prepared a ton of birthday surprises for you. She had me transfer you a large sum of money, and she also had a bunch of things sent to the house for you to use when you get back. So, what do you think? The woman I picked out for you isn't so bad, is she?" I put her on speaker and checked my notifications. Sure enough, there was a $50 million transfer. I was about to reply when Chloe, who hadn't been home all night, walked in. Partner? What partner? Hearing that familiar voice, Amelia got agitated. Ethan, who was that? Was that Chloe? What is she doing at your apartment at this hour? My heart leaped into my throat. I quickly made an excuse and hung up. Seeing how nervous I was, Chloe's smile returned, and she feigned annoyance. Why'd you hang up? You're not gonna let me talk to my best friend? Am I that embarrassing as a girlfriend? I wasn't in the mood for her jokes. I asked calmly, I thought you never wanted her to know about us. Chloe's smile froze. Seeing my cold expression, she finally realized I might actually be angry. She came over, took my hand, and placed the ring in my palm as if by magic. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was busy picking up your birthday present yesterday. That's why I left you at the lodge. Please, forgive me this one time. Did she really think I'd fall for such a transparent lie? That I would just forgive her? I stared at her, saying nothing, and made no move to take the ring. When I didn't respond, Chloe sighed and dangled the ring in front of my face. Why have you been so distracted lately? Is something on your mind? I finally looked away, turning to gaze out the window. Yes, there is, I said quietly. A friend of mine just found out his girlfriend has been lying to him for a long time. He told me everything and asked if he should forgive her. Oh, is that all? She chuckled, then gave a very logical answer. What's there to think about? If she lied, she doesn't deserve forgiveness. He should break up with her. If she lied, she doesn't deserve forgiveness, I repeated, mimicking her tone. Chloe smiled and nodded, ruffling my hair again. That's right. And don't you ever let anyone deceive you. You hear me? Watching her, a small smile finally touched my lips. Those are words we can both live by. Chloe frowned, about to ask what I meant, when her phone rang. She answered without looking. Hello, it's me, Chloe. We need to talk. We were standing close enough for me to recognize Julian's voice. I looked up and saw Chloe's expression freeze for a second before she quickly composed herself. She mumbled a quiet yes, hung up, and left after making a quick excuse. I looked at the ring she'd left on the table, then got up and went to my room. After working on my comic for 2 hours, I decided to take a break and opened Facebook. I scrolled down and saw a post from Julian, whose friend request I'd accepted yesterday. He'd posted it half an hour ago. 8 years later, and you're still the same girl who melts with just a little sweet talk. It's good to know some things don't change. The accompanying photo was of a bowl of crawfish and a hand, mid-peel. I recognized the slender hands and the familiar bracelet on the wrist. I gave a small, bitter smile and turned off my phone. Chloe didn't come home for the next few days. She just sent the occasional text saying she was busy. But through Julian's Facebook posts, I knew exactly what she was doing. Watching the sunrise at the beach, seeing fireworks at an amusement park, camping out in the country. I knew Julian was posting it all for me to see, but I didn't get angry or confront her like Julian probably expected. Instead, I focused on packing. I had accumulated a lot of things during my years in New York, and it took several days to sort through it all. I donated anything valuable. Just after the charity truck had hauled everything away, as I was about to take a break, Chloe called. I answered, but it wasn't her on the line. It was her friend, Sarah. Ethan, Chloe's gotten into it with someone. They're about to have a high-stakes street race. You have to get to the club and talk her out of it. My right eye started twitching. I hesitated for a long moment before grabbing my keys and hailing a cab to the club. As soon as I arrived, Sarah, who was waiting by the door, ran up and started explaining everything as she led me inside. A few days ago, Julian saw a pair of antique teacups he wanted at an auction, but someone else bought them while Chloe was in the restroom. Chloe saw how much he wanted them, so she tried to buy them off the guy. The guy is a racer too, from a rich family, and he suggested a high-stakes bet instead. One race, winner takes the cups. If it was a normal race, I wouldn't have called you, but they chose the dead man's curve. Ethan, you're her boyfriend. You have to do something. By the time we got there, it was already too late. They were in the final stretch. Her friends were watching the speeds on the monitor, screaming, Chloe, are you trying to get yourself killed? I followed their gaze just in time to see her black car flash by like a bolt of lightning. Chloe didn't slow down at all, crossing the finish line first. The price of her victory was smashing through the safety barrier at the end of the track, sending her car flipping through the air. The race was over. Her friends waiting at the finish line sprinted to the wreckage and pulled a bloodied Chloe from the car. She was coughing up blood, the light in her eyes fading. Sarah, get the cups, give them to Julian, and don't tell him about today. Before she passed out, those were her last words. Her only words. And they were for Julian. They had nothing to do with me. The bones in her left hand were nearly shattered. She had come dangerously close to ending her racing career for good. After surgery, she was still unconscious, but she kept murmuring Julian's name in her sleep. Seeing her so terrified of losing him, even in her dreams, I quietly looked away. The next morning, as the anesthesia wore off, Chloe opened her eyes. Seeing my exhausted face as I sat by her bed, her expression softened. "You stayed here all night? You didn't get any sleep?" I rubbed my temples and quietly mumbled yes. She saw the exhaustion in my eyes and stroked my hair. "Thank you for staying." My voice was flat. "It was nothing. You're my sister's best friend. It was the right thing to do." The words sounded wrong as soon as they left my mouth. Shouldn't it have been, "You're my girlfriend, of course I take care of you"? Why did it come out as, "You're my sister's best friend"? Chloe seemed to realize I was angry that she had risked her life in a race for another man. She started to explain, but then stopped, as if realizing no explanation would be good enough. Luckily for her, I didn't press the issue. She changed the subject. "So, who's come to visit?" "Your gaggle of friends, and your manager from the club." The smile slowly faded from Chloe's face, replaced by an icy expression. But she still seemed to be holding out hope. A faint smile played on her lips, but her eyes were cold. "Just them? No one else?" When I nodded, her face went completely cold. She didn't speak for the rest of the morning. I knew who she was waiting for, but I said nothing. Chloe was in the hospital for a few days, and I stayed with her the entire time. The day she was discharged, she looked at my gaunt face, a flicker of pity in her eyes. "Ethan, thank you for everything." I picked up her bags, my face impassive. "Don't mention it. My sister asked you to look after me when I first came to New York. Consider this me repaying the favor. A few days in the hospital doesn't quite equal years of looking after me, but I don't think I was ever too much trouble. So let's just call it even." This was the second time I had framed our relationship in terms of her and my sister. Chloe looked at me, a strange expression on her face. "We're boyfriend and girlfriend, Ethan. What's all this talk about repaying favors? It's not like I'm going to stop looking after you." I avoided her eyes and said, almost too quietly to hear, "There won't be a future." When we got home, I got a call from my editor. "Ethan, your new comic is a massive hit. The readers are already demanding a sequel. What do you think?" I'd been so busy at the hospital, this was the first I'd heard of it. My editor strongly urged me to strike while the iron was hot and start on a sequel, but I politely declined. The comic was based on my real-life relationship with Chloe. I had ended it right before I discovered the truth. To continue it now would just be pointless. I opened Twitter for the first time in a while and saw the comments flooding in. I couldn't help but smile. Seeing me finally smile, Chloe came over and started teasing me. "So the comic's a hit, huh? How about I throw a party for my famous artist?" Before I could stop her, she was already sending out a mass text. I swallowed my objections and changed the subject. "Have you read it?" "No, I'm not really into comics." "What's it about? You can just tell me." She wanted to throw a party for a comic she hadn't even read. It was just an excuse to see Julian. Watching her fingers fly across her phone's keyboard, a look of casual indifference on her face, I didn't bother arguing. I just got up and went to my room. The party was held in a hotel ballroom. As expected, Julian was there. But he wasn't alone. He had a woman with him, and they were all over each other. When Chloe saw them, she looked like she was about to shatter the glass in her hand. I ignored her and went to the restroom. When I came out, I noticed an out-of-order sign on the door. I was wondering what was wrong when a figure suddenly appeared from around the corner. It was the woman Julian had brought with him. She blocked my path, looking me up and down with a suggestive stare. I frowned and tried to step around her, but she grabbed my arm and leaned in to kiss me. The sudden move startled me. I instinctively pushed her away. "What are you doing?" The woman raised an eyebrow, a lewd, arrogant smile on her face. "Don't play innocent. Julian told me all about you. You're desperate, right? Stop trying to compete with him. How about you have some fun with me instead?" I couldn't even look at her. I just walked out of the restroom. The moment I stepped out, I saw Julian waiting there. I've been sheltered my whole life. I'm a gentle person by nature, but even I have my limits. Remembering what that woman had said, I didn't hesitate. I swung and punched him hard across the face. "Julian, you set that up, didn't you?" He took the punch, and seeing my fury, he didn't even get angry. He laughed. "You mean her? So what if I set it up? I was just feeling sorry for you. Ever since I came back, you, the little substitute, have been all alone. Aren't you lonely?" She's been around the block. I'm sure she could have shown you a good time." His disgusting words made my blood boil. I raised my fist again. This time, before my fist could connect, someone grabbed my arm. I turned and saw Chloe, her face a thundercloud. His audience had arrived. Julian's face immediately crumpled into a hurt expression. "Chloe," he said, his voice thick with fake tears. "Your boyfriend must really hate me. I just got in his way for a second and he attacked me." Chloe's face darkened. "Ethan, why would you attack him for no reason? Did Amelia teach you to act like this?" "Did I?" I was so angry my eyes were stinging. My voice shook. "For no reason? There are cameras in the hallway. Go look for yourself. See why I hit him. See what he did." I thought the evidence would speak for itself, but Chloe didn't want to see any evidence. She had already decided Julian was innocent. "I don't care what happened, you don't hit people. Besides, you've only met Julian once. What could he have possibly done to you? You need to apologize to him. Now." She wanted me to apologize to him. She wanted the victim to apologize to the abuser. A sharp pain shot through my chest. Julian, afraid of being exposed if this dragged on, put on his most pathetic face and tugged on her arm. "Chloe, let's just say it was my fault, okay? Please don't fight with your boyfriend because of me. Let's all just calm down." Chloe wasn't listening. Seeing no other option, Julian deliberately twisted his ankle, crying out in pain. The sight of him in pain immediately replaced Chloe's anger with panic and concern. She forgot all about me and rushed him downstairs. As I watched them disappear, the hot anger in my veins slowly cooled, leaving behind only a cold, hollow ache. I went back to the ballroom, grabbed my coat, and left. Just as I stepped out of the hotel, a car sped directly towards me. I couldn't get out of the way in time. The impact sent me flying into a planter, and everything went dark. I was in agony, covered in a cold sweat. By the time I got to the hospital, I was barely conscious. Seeing how badly I was hurt, a nurse used my fingerprint to unlock my phone, found the pinned contact in my iMessage, and made a call. A few seconds later, Chloe's low, angry voice came through the speaker. "I'm only letting it go because Julian is hurt, but that doesn't mean you were right. You need to come here and apologize to him." The nurse was taken aback for a moment before she explained the situation. Chloe, still furious, refused to believe it. Even if he was in an accident, he still needs to apologize. "I'm not signing anything until he does." With that, she hung up. Left with no other choice, the nurse had to wake me and ask if there was anyone else she could call. I didn't want to worry my family, and I couldn't think of anyone else. So, fighting through the pain, I took the pen with my trembling, bleeding hand and signed the surgical consent form myself. The surgery was successful, but I had to stay in the hospital for a few days for observation. I was alone in the hospital. With no one to help, I had to do everything myself, dragging my injured body through each task. I overheard some nurses gossiping nearby. They said that the boyfriend of the Davis family heiress had been injured, and she had rented out the entire floor above for him. She was there every day, personally taking care of him. They said she must be really in love. I lay in my hospital bed, listening in silence. I took out my phone and deleted every post about our relationship, one by one. Then, I deleted Chloe from my contacts. The day I was discharged, I was handling the paperwork alone when I ran into Chloe at the elevators, helping a still limping Julian back to his room. I gave them a cold, fleeting glance, then turned and headed for the stairs. Chloe must have seen me out of the corner of her eye, but by the time she turned, I was gone. She probably thought she was seeing things. After all, I was such a baby about pain. I remembered once in school I got hit in the knee with a ball, and she had to comfort me for hours. If I'd really been in a car crash, there was no way I wouldn't have called her, crying. When I got back to the apartment, I called a junk removal service and had them haul away everything I had packed up before. Then I went into the study and tore every single page out of the journal I had kept for 8 years. The thrill of falling in love at first sight at 15. The courage of moving to New York alone for her at 17. The joy of finally being with her at 18. All the youthful emotions that had held me captive for 8 years. On this day, they finally disappeared. I left the breakup letter where Chloe would be sure to see it, and walked out of the apartment with my last suitcase. Downstairs, I hailed a cab. The driver, seeing I was injured, hurried to help me with my suitcase. I turned for one last look at the city I had called home for 6 years, and my eyes met a familiar pair. Chloe was just getting out of a car. Seeing me, her expression softened. Going somewhere? I looked at her, the love that had once filled my eyes now completely gone. "Can I help you?" Chloe didn't seem to notice the change. She probably just thought I was still being stubborn. A hint of resignation crossed her face. I just came back to get a few things, and I was hoping we could talk. There's no, I started to say, but was cut off by Chloe's phone ringing. She answered, and her brow slowly furrowed in concern. After she hung up, she turned and got back in her car. Since you still need to cool off, we can talk later, she said hurriedly before closing the door. Be safe, and don't be out too late. Come back? I was never coming back. I waited until her car was out of sight before, at the driver's prompting, I got in. I closed the door and looked out at the darkening, stormy sky. My eyes felt as dead and still as a stagnant pond. Where to, kid? The airport. A few hours later, the plane landed safely in Los Angeles. I saw my family waiting for me as I came through the gate, and I hurried towards them. Even from a distance, Amelia saw the bandages on my hand. She rushed forward and took my bags, her eyes full of concern. You're hurt? Why didn't you tell us? My parents saw it too, their faces falling. My mom gently examined my hand. Does it hurt, sweetie? You have to tell us when something like this happens. We would have come to get you. It's wrapped so tightly, it must be serious. We're not going home, we're going straight to the hospital. It was the first time since the accident that anyone had shown me such concern. The pent-up pain and sadness I'd been holding back finally broke free, and tears streamed down my face. Seeing me cry, my mom's eyes welled up too. My dad and sister immediately got on their phones, calling a doctor. Seeing them all so worried made me feel a little embarrassed. I wiped my tears and tried to reassure them. I'm okay, really. It's not that bad. I missed you guys. Hearing that, the three of them finally seemed to relax a little. Amelia patted my head, though her tone was still scolding. Well, who told you to go so far away? You refused to come home after graduation. Now you finally appreciate your family. Seeing her daughter pulling the big sister act, my mom grabbed her ear. Yesterday you were worrying nonstop about the weather, afraid his flight would be delayed. Now that he's here, you're pretending to be tough. If you showed him a little more love, maybe he would have come home sooner. Seeing Amelia get scolded, I couldn't help but laugh through my tears. The dark cloud that had been hanging over me for so long finally began to dissipate under the warmth of my family's love. I felt as bright and sunny as the summer day outside. I said I was starving, so we went home to eat first. I don't know if it was because I was in a better mood, or because my mom's cooking was just that good, but I ate twice as much as I normally do. After dinner, I was getting sleepy and was about to head to bed, but Amelia insisted we go out. Mom and Dad's orders. We're gonna have a doctor look at that hand so they can stop worrying. So just come on. She'd played the parent card. I had no choice but to get in the car, yawning. We spent the drive catching up on family gossip, and I slowly started to wake up. I looked out the window at the increasingly quiet streets. I searched my memory, then asked hesitantly, are we going to the hospital? Who said anything about a hospital? The doctor I'm taking you to see is in a league of her own. I knew that tone. My sister was up to her old tricks, probably showing off another one of her impressive, overachieving friends who'd just come back from studying abroad. I made an appropriately impressed sound. Then, seeing the smug look on her face, I asked, so, Amelia, if your friends are all so mature and successful, how come you're 27 and mom still pulls your ear when you get out of line? We had just arrived. Amelia parked the car and was about to turn and give me a piece of her mind, but then she saw the person waiting for us by the door, and her face broke into a wide smile. You're being a real smart mouth right now. Let's see if you keep that same energy when you meet her. I'd love to see you two argue. I wonder who would win. Argue? Why would I argue with a doctor? I looked over, confused, and saw Amelia greeting the person at the door. I might give my sister a hard time, but I'm always nervous around new people, especially doctors. My whole family knows I hate doctors, so I stayed in the car, hoping to delay the inevitable. After chatting with her friend for a while, Amelia finally remembered I was still in the car. She came back, glaring, and waved for me to get out and say hello. I took a deep breath, composed my face, and reached for the door handle. Suddenly, the door was opened from the outside. I looked up and found myself looking into a pair of deep, intelligent eyes. Seeing me, a flicker of something disturbed their calm surface. The cool, professional aura she projected seemed to melt away, replaced by a gentle warmth. Mr. Miller, it's a pleasure to finally meet you. I'm a friend of Amelia's, Dr. Evelyn Reed. I was stunned for a moment before I realized I should shake her hand. I instinctively offered my injured right hand. Seeing my bandaged hand, Evelyn paused for a second. Then, instead of taking it, she reached out and gently took my elbow. I was a little taken aback by the gesture. Then I looked down and realized I'd offered her my injured hand. I flushed with embarrassment. As I stood there awkwardly, Evelyn thoughtfully held the car door for me. "You're injured," she reminded me gently. "Be careful getting out." I finally understood. I quickly ducked and got out of the car. The moment I was out, I pulled my hand back and nodded. "Thank you." Of course. Amelia, who had been watching the whole exchange, saw my bright red ears and burst out laughing. We both turned to look at her. She quickly covered her mouth, trying to look innocent. "Well, my job here is done. I'll leave you two to it." And with that, she practically sprinted away, leaving me alone with the doctor I had just met. Some sister she was. I gritted my teeth and silently wished she would trip and fall. Evelyn, however, was perfectly composed. She gently closed the car door and gestured for me to go inside. Out of a mixture of respect and nervousness, I kept my eyes on the ground and followed a few paces behind her. Once we were inside, I took a seat on the couch. Evelyn came over with a large medical bag and began to unwrap the bandages, revealing a long, ugly gash. Her brow furrowed the moment she saw it. She looked at me, her eyes full of concern. "A cut this long. How did this happen?" I didn't dare lie to a doctor, so I told her the truth. After I finished, Evelyn re-wrapped the wound, then put her supplies away and stood up. I was surprised. Wasn't she going to treat it? Why was she wrapping it back up? After sending a few texts, Evelyn picked up a set of keys from the table and turned to me. "Let's go. We're going to the hospital to get this properly checked out." "That's not necessary. I had it checked out in New York. The doctor said I was fine." I protested, but it was no use. Evelyn looked at me, her gaze firm and unyielding, but her voice was gentle. "It was a car accident. It's better to be thorough. You'll need this hand to draw, won't you?" Her last sentence convinced me. I stood up and went with her without another word. We went to the nearest hospital and they ran a full set of tests. I only breathed a sigh of relief when the results came back clear. As Evelyn carefully dressed my wound, I thanked her sincerely. "Thank you for all your trouble today, Dr. Reed." "It was no trouble, and please call me Evelyn." That felt a little too familiar. We had only just met, and she was my sister's friend. It felt too soon to be on a first-name basis. I didn't say anything, but as I was debating it in my head, my phone buzzed. I picked it up with my left hand. It was a text from Amelia. "Where'd you two go? Don't be shy." "So, the fiancé I picked out for you isn't so bad, is she?" My eyes scanned the message and froze on the word, fiancé.
Fiancé?
Evelyn was my fiancé? I was so shocked I snatched my hand back and stared at her in disbelief. Evelyn remained calm. She looked at me, her expression serene. "Does it hurt? Was I being too rough?" I realized how I must have looked and quickly shook my head. Seeing that I wasn't in pain, but startled, Evelyn seemed to reconsider her approach as she gently took my hand again to finish dressing the wound. After learning the truth, I found myself holding my breath, stealing glances at her, studying her. Her eyelashes were long and curled, giving her a playful look. Her fingers were long and slender, perfect for painting. Her hair was so soft and smooth, not what I'd expect from a doctor. In the time it took her to finish, a dozen different thoughts had run through my head. I found myself staring. When Evelyn finished, she looked up and met my intense gaze. A hint of surprise flickered in her eyes. "What is it?" "Dr. Reed." "Evelyn." "Ma'am." I fumbled through 3 different forms of address in as many seconds, each one feeling more awkward than the last. Seeing her questioning look, I hesitated for a long moment before finally asking, as tactfully as I could, "The things that were sent to my parents' house? Did you pick them out yourself?" Evelyn nodded. "I did." "Do you not like them? We can go pick out something else when you have time." I quickly shook my head and forced a bright smile. "No, I love them. They're perfect." After several hours together, she had finally seen me smile. It might not have been the most genuine smile, but it seemed to ease some of her worries. At least our first meeting had been pleasant. For now, that was enough. Julian spent a week in the hospital, long enough for him to get restless. The day he was discharged, the 3-day rainstorm that had soaked New York finally broke. Chloe dropped him off at his apartment and immediately turned to leave. He asked her to stay for dinner, but she frowned and made an excuse. The moment she was gone, Julian dropped his disappointed act and called his friends. "I'm out. We didn't see him at the hospital. The bastard's lucky to be alive. Can't believe that didn't kill him." On the other side of the door, Chloe heard the smug tone in Julian's voice, and her hand froze on the doorknob. "Chloe left? Probably went to find him. Whatever. I'll send her a text later. She'll come running back." That woman's head was split open. "He's a real piece of work. Next time we'll bring more guys. Let's see him try to get away then." Of course Chloe believes me. The kid wanted to check the security cameras, and she wouldn't even hear of it. You should have seen the look on his face. I almost burst out laughing. Each of Julian's careless, bragging words struck Chloe like a clap of thunder. The cameras? She suddenly remembered the scene at the hotel, and her whole body went rigid. Had something really happened before she got there? Her hands clenched into fists, her brow furrowed. A few more laughs echoed from the room, and then silence. But a storm was raging inside Chloe. Forgetting her keys, she turned, ran outside, and hailed a cab, heading straight for the hotel. Using the excuse that she'd lost something, Chloe managed to get the security footage from that night. The footage showed Julian's friends clearing everyone out of the restroom. After I went in, they put up an out-of-order sign and left. Then, the woman Julian had been with slipped inside. A few minutes later, I came out, my face a mask of fury, and punched Julian, who was waiting outside. The camera had recorded our entire conversation. Chloe's face grew darker with every word Julian said. But the worst part, the part that made her sick to her stomach, was the footage from the entrance camera. It showed two of Julian's friends on a maintenance cart, speeding up and hitting me, sending me flying out of the frame. She remembered my call from the hospital, and Julian's words on the phone just now. Her blood ran cold. Her heart began to pound. She pulled out her phone to text me. The moment she hit send, a message failed to deliver notification popped up. I had blocked her number. The realization made her hands tremble. She quickly switched to her phone app and tried to call. After a long, unanswered ring, a cold, automated voice informed her the number was no longer in service. I had blocked her calls too. Chloe felt a tightness in her throat, making it hard to breathe. She couldn't control herself any longer. She ran downstairs, hailed a cab, and rushed back to the apartment. When she pushed open the door, she froze. The living room was completely alien to her. The shelves where I kept my collectibles, the photos on the wall, the desk that was always covered in my drawings. Everywhere my things had been was now bare. She walked through the apartment in a daze, finding every room just as empty. Chloe tore the apartment apart, but she couldn't find a single trace of me. It was as if I, and everything I owned, had simply vanished into thin air. But I didn't know anyone else in New York. Where could I have gone without a word to anyone? Chloe's mind was blank, her eyes filled with a dazed confusion. Her eyes darted around the room, and she caught sight of an envelope on the nightstand. She rushed over and tore it open. She froze as she read the first line. "Chloe, we're over." When Chloe's call came through, Amelia was in the middle of peeling lychees for me, at our mother's insistence. Her hands were sticky with juice, so she had me get her phone for her. I picked it up, and when I saw the caller ID, the smile on my face faltered for a second before I quickly composed myself. I answered the call and held the phone to Amelia's ear, then popped a fresh lychee into my mouth. The sweet, soft fruit burst in my mouth, filling my senses with its fragrance. It was so sweet. I don't know what Chloe said, but Amelia frowned and gave me a strange look. I met her strange look with a calm expression, wiped her hands with a napkin, and handed her the phone. Amelia was about to ask me something, but just then, our butler showed Evelyn into the room. The moment she saw her, my mother stood up to greet her warmly. After they exchanged pleasantries, Evelyn came and sat down next to me. "My sister-in-law is here." Whatever she was about to ask died on her lips. Amelia gave up and took the call outside. "Chloe," she said, her voice a mixture of laughter and exasperation. "What do you want with my brother? He's busy right now, he can't talk." "Is he really busy? Or is that just an excuse?" Chloe's voice was cold, uncertain. "How bad are his injuries?" Amelia sounded surprised. "You knew he was hurt? Why didn't you tell me? I would have flown to New York to get him. We could have grabbed a drink." Chloe was in no mood for drinks. All she could think about was why I had broken up with her. She rubbed her temples and pressed the issue. "Is he really busy? I just need to ask him something. Is it really a bad time?" Something in Chloe's tone made Amelia glance back inside. She saw Evelyn peel a lychee and hand it to me, and a wide, knowing smile spread across her face. "He's really busy," she said into the phone. "Would I lie to you?" Hearing the smile in Amelia's voice, Chloe's already anxious heart sank even further. She knew it was an excuse. Amelia had always been protective of me. It had to be me who didn't want to talk, and Amelia was just covering for me. She was frantic, but she couldn't let on too much to her best friend. She suppressed her frustration and was about to book a flight to Los Angeles when Amelia suddenly said, "Hey, are you free next week? We're having a big celebration here. You should come. Haley and Jessica are already coming." Chloe had been looking for an excuse to fly out. She immediately feigned casual interest. "When is it?" I'll have to check my schedule. Next Friday. And you'd better make time. If you don't come, you're in big trouble next time I see you. 5 days wasn't too long to wait. Chloe agreed. Before she hung up, she added, and please, tell Ethan to call me back. Yeah, I'll pass along the message from the great Miss Davis. But like I said, he's really busy. Whether he calls you back is up to him. Really busy, but he was injured. He couldn't be working. What could he possibly be busy with? As Chloe was wondering, she overheard my mother's voice in the background. Amelia, we're heading to the bridal shop. You hurry and catch up. A bridal shop? Who was getting married? Chloe was about to ask, but Amelia quickly said goodbye and hung up, sounding as rushed as a bride on her wedding day. Thinking about it, Chloe replayed Amelia's words in her head. A big celebration. Haley and Jessica were going. She'd be in trouble if she didn't go. Was Amelia getting married? That would explain why Ethan had gone home so suddenly. Chloe called her assistant and told her to prepare a generous wedding gift and book her a flight. After all, they had been best friends for 10 years. She couldn't show up to her wedding empty-handed. With a plan in place, the empty apartment didn't seem so daunting anymore. She picked up the letter I had left, put it in an ashtray, and set it on fire. As she watched it burn, she rubbed her eyes, ready to get some rest, when her phone screen lit up. It was a message from Julian, asking her to come over. The color that had just returned to her face drained away. Remembering what she had heard outside his apartment, and what she had seen on the security footage, a chill went through her. Did Julian have a whole other side to him that she had never seen? The sweet, charming, kind person he was with her. How much of it was real? She didn't want to doubt him, but she had to. She sat alone in her team's lounge for a long time, thinking. Finally, she made a decision. She called Sarah. Sarah, didn't you say one of Julian's friends added you on Instagram? I need you to ask him out for a drink. Get him drunk. There's something I need you to find out for me. It wasn't until I walked into the tuxedo shop that it finally felt real. I was getting married. I watched Evelyn try on dresses, their soft, cloud-like skirts swirling around her, and I felt a wave of complex emotions. At one point, marriage had been part of my plan, and now, only a few months later, I was about to walk down the aisle, but the bride wasn't the woman I had once been so sure I would marry. Looking back, it all felt like a dream, like a movie I had once watched. Now, the credits had rolled, and I had left the theater. I was no longer the main character of that story. It was time to move on, and the person who would be by my side, starting this new chapter with me, was Evelyn. I didn't know what the future held, or how long this marriage would last. I didn't know if I would one day regret getting married so young. I had no expectations for the unknown, but I wasn't pessimistic either. After all, in the 3 short days I had known her, Evelyn had made a very good impression. She was the complete opposite of Chloe. When I was with her, she never made cruel jokes. She always looked at me with a gentle, focused attention. She called in favors from her network of friends, trying to find a specialist who could minimize my scarring. She tentatively tried to get to know me, asking about my hobbies and interests, but always from a respectful distance. Slowly, I grew accustomed to her quiet presence, to her gentle, meticulous care. Like now, for instance. Knowing I was still recovering, Evelyn had asked her cousin, who was my height and build, to stand in for me at the tuxedo fitting. This was our wedding, but she had thoughtfully arranged every detail, leaving nothing to chance. Just watching her carefully inspect the material of the gloves, checking to see if they would irritate my wound, put me at ease. I nudged Amelia, who was fussing with Evelyn's veil. You know, I said, surprising her with a rare compliment, you have great taste. I'm very happy with your choice of bride. Of course, Amelia said, preening. Would I, your beautiful and brilliant sister, ever pick someone who was anything less than perfect? I gave her a thumbs up, then lowered my voice. So, why would someone as amazing as her agree to an arranged marriage with me? At this, Amelia's smugness level went up a notch. Evelyn is a certified genius, a real ice queen of the medical research world. She's been completely dedicated to her career her whole life, never had time for romance. Her family was getting worried, so we, her best friends, decided to help out. We introduced her to a dozen guys, and she wasn't interested in any of them. Then, at my birthday party, she saw our family photo. She stared at your picture for the longest time. I saw my chance and mentioned you, and she was actually interested. I tried to set you two up then, but you were so stubborn. If she hadn't been patient enough to wait for you for over 6 months, you never would have gotten this lucky. I thought back, and realized the first time they had mentioned an arranged marriage had been about 6 months ago. Back then, I didn't know the truth about Julian, so I had refused no matter how much they pushed. Evelyn knew I wasn't interested, and she still waited for me for 6 months? I was stunned. Seeing me lost in thought, Amelia flicked my forehead. Oh, by the way, Chloe called before we left. She said she needed to ask you something. You should call her back. I nodded noncommittally, but I had no intention of calling her. Seeing my expression, Amelia's suspicions seemed to be put to rest. She did take care of you for a long time. You two were like brother and sister. I went ahead and invited her to the wedding for you. Her words left me speechless. She knew I was getting married? Amelia squinted, trying to remember their conversation, completely missing the look of shock on my face. I guess I forgot to mention it was your wedding, but she must have figured it out, right? I mean, if it was my wedding, she'd be a bridesmaid. Seeing the uncertainty on her face, I was at a loss for words. My sister was so unreliable. When Sarah brought over the voice recorder, she looked deeply troubled. Chloe reached for it, but Sarah held on tight. Chloe, maybe you should just let this go, she said hesitantly. You've waited 8 years for him. Some things are better left unknown, for both your sakes. Hearing her childhood friend be so evasive, Chloe knew that whatever was on that recording was even worse than she had imagined. Her already wavering heart began to sink into a dark abyss. Her face hardened. She snatched the recorder from Sarah's hand and pressed play. Sarah, I still don't get it. Why did Julian break up with her and leave the country so suddenly all those years ago? Oh, that is a long story. Back then, Chloe's mother talked to Julian. She told him the Davis family would never approve of him, and then she gave him a lot of money to disappear. Julian was young, he got scared, so he took the money and left the country. Years later, we heard that all of Chloe's boyfriends looked like him, so we told him as a joke. When he heard that, he came right back. I guess he never really got over her either. If he never got over her, why didn't he just tell her? Chloe never got over him either. If he had just said something, they could have gotten back together. You don't get it. It's all a game to him. Julian said he had to start fights and create drama to make Chloe remember how she felt 8 years ago. That's the only way to make sure she'll stay with him, completely devoted. Only now, after all these years, did Chloe finally understand the real reason Julian had broken up with her. It was for money. She had offered him her whole heart, and it still wasn't worth as much as a payoff from her mother? She didn't know what she was feeling. All she could do was laugh, a cold, bitter sound. She didn't know if she was laughing at her own naivete or at his cruel calculations. Seeing her friend's broken expression, Sarah knew that this was it. Chloe's heart was well and truly broken. She sighed heavily and played another video. The video was of the woman from the hotel, the one who had been hit. She was in a hospital bed, clearly frightened. She looked at the camera and stammered, "It was Julian. He told me to mess with Mr. Miller. He said he needed to be taught a lesson." Chloe couldn't watch anymore. She snatched the phone and hurled it against the wall. The angry flush drained from her face, leaving it a pale, ashen gray. The room was silent for so long that Sarah had started to doze off. Finally, Chloe spoke, her voice hoarse. "Set it up, party. Invite everyone. Don't leave a single person out." After the fittings, our families tactfully made their excuses and left, giving me and my new fiancé the evening to ourselves. Looking out at the brilliant sunset, I felt a sense of peace and suggested we go for a walk. The river walk was crowded, and Evelyn, worried someone might bump into my injured arm, walked close on my right side, protectively shielding me. There were street vendors selling toys and snacks along the path. My eyes lingered for a moment on a balloon twisted into the shape of a sunflower, and Evelyn noticed immediately. She bought it and handed it to me. A few kids nearby saw and looked over, whispering to each other. "Why does that grown-up have a balloon?" I overheard them and felt a little embarrassed, trying to hide the balloon behind my back. But then, to my surprise, Evelyn bought 3 more balloon flowers and gave them to the children. "Your kids," she told them seriously, "and he's a big kid. Anyone can have a balloon if they like them." The children blushed, thanked her, and ran off, laughing, with their new balloons. Evelyn turned back to me and saw me staring at her. A soft light entered her eyes. "What is it?" I snapped out of my daze and shook my head, a small smile on my face. "I've been a grown-up for too long. I forgot how sweet kids can be." "Well, we should go for more walks then when you have time. Seeing new things must be good for your art, right? Everyone's waiting for your next comic." I was surprised she knew about my work. "You know I'm a comic artist? You've read my stuff." Evelyn admitted it freely. "I have. It's very good." The compliment was simple, but coming from her, it meant a lot. It was the first time someone in my life had ever validated my dream. I looked up at her honest, open face, and the idea that had been forming in my mind solidified. "Have you read my latest one?" My tone was so casual it seemed to catch her off guard, but after a moment's hesitation, she answered honestly. "I have." I had expected as much, and her honesty was a relief. I watched the sun sink below the horizon, the evening breeze tossing my hair. My voice seemed to carry on the wind. "It's getting late, let's get some coffee. I think you have a right to know the real ending to that story." The Davis family owned a large estate in the hills outside the city. It was usually quiet, but on this Tuesday night, it was buzzing with activity. All the young, wealthy socialites of New York who were friendly with Chloe had been invited, and they all arrived promptly. When they entered, they found the grand hall decorated as if for a wedding, and they exchanged confused glances. "Is Miss Davis getting engaged? Then the groom must be." Everyone looked around, but they didn't see the young boyfriend she had recently been seen with. Instead, all eyes fell on Julian, who was dressed in an impeccable tuxedo. They always say you go back to your first love. It seems Miss Davis is no exception. Poor ex-boyfriend, he probably doesn't even know what hit him. Hearing the whispers, and seeing the hall filled with roses, Julian's eyes shone with triumph. He knew it. He knew Chloe would choose him in the end. She had loved him for 8 years. What chance did some kid stand against that? Just before the party was about to officially begin, his friends pulled him into the restroom to make sure he looked perfect. "Miss Davis is about to propose to you in front of everyone, Julian. You have to look your best." "Yeah, man. All those other rich guys out there are going to be dying of jealousy. You have to show them all up." Julian beamed at his friend's praise. He closed his eyes, already picturing his triumphant future. Everything was going exactly as Julian had planned. At the height of the party, Chloe, who had been absent until now, made her grand entrance in a stunning red gown as a romantic piano melody began to play. She walked through the silent, watching crowd, a bouquet of red roses in her arms. She stopped in front of Julian and pulled a ring box from her pocket. She opened the box to reveal a 20-carat diamond ring, and the crowd gasped. Many of the more discerning guests recognized the ring immediately. "Isn't that the heart of eternity? The one that sold for $1 billion at auction last month? I can't believe she has it. To propose with a ring like that, she must be truly, deeply in love with him." The envious whispers only fueled Julian's ego. He lifted his chin, preening like a proud peacock. But in front of Chloe, he had to play his part. He covered his mouth with his hand in feigned surprise. "Chloe, what is this?" Chloe didn't answer with words. She answered with actions. She took a step back and dropped to one knee. She looked up at him, her captivating eyes full of a dazzling smile, and asked the words Julian had been waiting his whole life to hear. "Will you marry me?" Someone in the crowd cheered, and then the whole room erupted in a frenzy of applause and excited shouts. Julian was overcome with emotion. He slowly extended his hand. "I." Before he could finish the word, the piano music came to an abrupt, jarring halt. The romantic atmosphere that had filled the room vanished in an instant. The guests all turned, looking for the source of the problem. When they couldn't find one, all eyes turned to the only person who could be responsible: Chloe. Julian, his perfect moment ruined, frowned. "Chloe, the music." "I told them to stop," Chloe said, getting to her feet. When she was standing, she looked up at him, and the dazzling smile was gone, replaced by an icy coldness. Seeing the change in her expression, the crowd sensed that something was about to happen. A hush fell over the room. Only Julian, still lost in his fantasy, failed to read the room. He pouted like a spoiled child. "If you're going to be like that, then I won't say yes." Chloe nodded, a look of utter indifference on her face. Then she dropped the bombshell. "It doesn't matter if you say yes or not, because I wasn't proposing to you." Julian stared at her, his eyes wide with disbelief. He began to tremble. What did you just say?" Chloe casually tossed the bouquet to the floor, then snapped the ring box shut. "I mean, the person I want to marry isn't you, Julian." The words hung in the dead silent room. The only sound was the soft sound of breathing. Ignoring Julian's stunned expression, Chloe turned to the guests and bowed. "My apologies, everyone," she said, a smile in her voice. "Tonight was just a rehearsal. This Sunday, at this same time, in this same place, I will be proposing to my boyfriend. I hope you can all be there to witness it." The crowd, savvy to the ways of their social circle, quickly understood. The entire evening had been a setup to publicly humiliate Julian. Happy to play along, they all pretended as if nothing was amiss. Of course. We'll be there to support you, Miss Davis. To have such a grand rehearsal just for a proposal Mr. Miller is a very lucky man. The polite, placating murmurs of the crowd were like gasoline on the fire of Julian's rage. He forgot all about decorum and screamed at Chloe, his voice shrill with fury. "Chloe, how dare you?" The room went silent once more. Chloe slowly turned back to him, her lazy, indifferent mask back in place. "Play you? Such an ugly word. I prefer to think of it as helping you. Julian, you're not my boyfriend. It doesn't take a genius to figure out I wouldn't be proposing to you. How did you ever get such a ridiculous idea in your head?" Her words were cruel, and her flippant tone made several people in the crowd cover their mouths to hide their laughter. Julian completely lost it. He shoved the champagne tower next to him, sending glasses crashing to the floor. "You dare to humiliate me like this? You'll regret this, you bitch!" The guests screamed and scattered, but Chloe didn't even flinch as the cold champagne splashed onto her dress. She took a handkerchief from her pocket and slowly wiped the champagne from her face, not even bothering to look at him. "Regret? I'm about to get married. What could I possibly have to regret? That I made you angry? You're just an ex from 8 years ago with no family and no money. Why on earth would I regret anything to do with you?" Every word was a dagger to Julian's heart. Hearing the laughter of the crowd grow louder, he couldn't take it anymore and ran for the door. He had just reached the entrance when he was stopped by 2 police officers who were just walking in. "Julian Vance? We've had a report that you were involved in a case of intentional assault. We need you to come with us." Julian stared at the police officers, completely dumbfounded. He whipped his head around and met Chloe's ice-cold stare. "The woman from the hotel turned herself in," Chloe said, her voice dripping with ice. "She gave the police the security footage from the hotel. You just go along quietly now. And remember to tell them everything. If you're lucky, you'll get a lighter sentence. You might even get out in time for my wedding to Ethan." By Thursday night, Chloe still hadn't heard back from me. She was growing more and more agitated, drinking alone and constantly checking her phone. Sarah, knowing what was wrong, tried to comfort her. "He's just being dramatic, waiting for you to come and apologize. Everyone knows how much Ethan loves you. There's no way he really wants to break up. I bet he's the one who told his sister to invite you to the wedding. He's just giving you an easy way to make up." Hearing this, Chloe finally started to feel a little better. She watched the clock. At 9, she got up and headed for the airport. She had made up her mind. She was going to Los Angeles to congratulate Amelia and to finally meet my parents and tell them the truth about our relationship. As long as I would forgive her, as long as I would agree to marry her, she would do anything. The wedding was held at the largest outdoor venue in Los Angeles. At 9 in the morning, the hotel manager received a call instructing him to move one table's place cards to a spot near the exit and to increase security. At 10, the guests began to arrive, filling the spacious lawn with a lively buzz. Chloe had arrived early the previous morning. After a night of rest, she met up with 2 old college roommates she hadn't seen in years, and they all came to the wedding together. The 3 of them walked into the venue, chatting about where they should go for drinks after the ceremony. A waiter asked for their names, then respectfully led them to their table. It was only a short walk. Chloe looked at their table, far from the main stage and right next to a busy walkway, and laughed. "That Amelia. She drags us all the way out here and then sticks us in the worst seats in the house. Some friend she is." Her friends readily agreed, adding their own complaints. "We're so far away, we won't even be able to see the bride and groom. We might as well have just watched a live stream from the hotel. The view would have been better. You're telling me, if I get my hands on her, I'm going to give her a piece of my mind." Despite their grumbling, the 3 of them sat down. Chloe took a picture of their view and sent it to Amelia with the caption, "Really? This is how you treat your best friend." Amelia must have been busy, because she didn't reply. Chloe knew she must be swamped, so she didn't press it. She just sipped her wine and admired the elegant decorations. She marveled to herself. In just a few years, the wild and crazy Amelia she knew had become so sophisticated. The fine wine, the tasteful decorations, the romantic atmosphere, it wasn't her style at all. A minute before the ceremony was due to start, her phone buzzed. Chloe picked it up. It was a message from Amelia. She had replied, "I arranged your seating myself. I remember putting you at a table near the front." Before Chloe could process this, the wedding march began to play. She looked up and saw, 20 yards away, a man in a handsome tuxedo standing at the altar. Chloe was a little nearsighted and couldn't see clearly from that distance. She nudged Haley. "Is that Amelia's fiancé?" Hearing this, her 2 friends turned to stare at her in shock. What would he be doing up there? It's not her wedding. Not Amelia's wedding? Then why had she been invited? Chloe's face fell. The groom isn't her fiancé? She asked tentatively. Of course not. It's the youngest daughter of the Reed family, Evelyn Reed. Chloe knew the name, of course. Evelyn Reed was a well-known prodigy, a brilliant doctor from a prominent family. The kind of person parents always compared their own children to. But the Davis family was based in New York and rarely had dealings in Los Angeles, so Chloe had never actually met her. Evelyn Reed was getting married, and Amelia had invited her. Was a Miller getting married today? But the Millers only had one son, Ethan. Could it be a cousin she'd never met? Chloe's mind raced as she squinted, trying to make out the blurry figure at the altar. She had been so focused on the bride, she hadn't even looked at the groom. The bride was now walking slowly down the aisle. Haley and Jessica stood up, raising their glasses. I remember when we first met Ethan, he was still in high school, Haley said with a sigh. And now he's getting married. Time really flies. You're telling me, Jessica agreed. He's so handsome, I'd be jealous if he married anyone else. But Evelyn Reed, they're perfect for each other. I wish them nothing but the best. Chloe, who had been swirling the wine in her glass, froze at the mention of Ethan's name. Ethan? Which Ethan? Did the Millers have another son named Ethan? She shot to her feet and grabbed Jessica's arm, her eyes wide. The groom is Ethan? Amelia's brother Ethan? Her friends, startled by her sudden outburst, nodded hesitantly. Yes, Ethan Miller. Why else would we be here? It's Ethan and Evelyn's wedding. Chloe, didn't you know? Of course Chloe didn't know. She had never, in a million years, imagined that she would be attending Ethan's wedding. The truth hit her like a physical blow. Her mind went blank, and a hot rush of blood pounded in her ears. In an instant, her detached amusement vanished, replaced by a frantic, overwhelming panic. She couldn't hear anything over the roaring in her ears. She shoved her chair back and started running towards the altar. Several security guards saw the commotion and ran after her. By the time she reached the front, close enough to see clearly, the ceremony had reached the exchanging of the rings. The officiant held the microphone and asked, "Do you, Ethan, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" Chloe's heart was pounding so hard she thought it would burst from her chest as she saw me raise my hand to place the ring on Evelyn's finger. With every ounce of strength she had, she screamed, "Don't!" Every head in the crowd turned to stare at her. There were looks of shock, of confusion, of curiosity, of disgust. She saw none of them. All she saw was me, turning my head slightly to give her a single, calm look. My gaze didn't linger on her. I just glanced at her, saw the security guards taking control of the situation, and then turned back to the officiant and took the microphone. As the crowd murmured in anticipation, I smiled and said, "I do." Chloe heard every word. She would never forget them for as long as she lived. The small disturbance didn't derail the ceremony for long. The security guards escorted the disruptive guest away, and the wedding continued as planned. The only people whose faces showed any lasting shock were the 4 former college roommates. Backstage, Amelia had seen everything. The moment Chloe had started running, Amelia's face had fallen, a look of dawning horror on her face. When the coordinator told her she had 10 minutes before her maid of honor speech, she took off her jacket, cracked her knuckles, and walked out. At the door, she ran right into a hysterical Chloe and a very confused Haley and Jessica. She grabbed Chloe by the collar, her voice dangerously low. "What did you mean by that, Chloe? Who were you talking to?" Chloe's eyes were blank. She stared at Amelia for a long moment before her gaze finally focused. She forced the words out through gritted teeth. "To Ethan." The suspicion that had been building in Amelia's mind for months was finally confirmed. A tight, humorless smile stretched across her pale face. Her voice was ice. "And who are you to him? What right do you have to say anything to him? I'm his girl for..." Before the word "friend" was even out of her mouth, Amelia's hand cracked across her face. "I asked you to look after my brother, and this is what you do?" Amelia screamed. 6 years. You were with him for 6 years, and you never said a single goddamn word. What did you think I was? A fool? What did you think he was? A toy? All those years I begged you to visit me in LA, and you always had an excuse. How dare you show your face here now? When it was time for the maid of honor's speech, the officiant had to call her name 3 times before she finally, hastily, made her way to the stage. I saw my sister standing at the podium, a fresh bruise already forming on her cheek, and the smile on my face froze. Perhaps feeling my eyes on her, Amelia winced, then looked up at me and forced a bright smile, silently mouthing the words, "It's your wedding day. Smile. Be happy." I read her lips and, following her lead, broke into an even wider smile. When Amelia gave her speech, her bruised face was projected onto the large screens, prompting the officiant to joke. Our maid of honor seems to be sporting some rather avant-garde makeup today. Are you planning a special performance for us? The guests, who had been murmuring in confusion, all laughed at the joke. Amelia stuck her tongue out sheepishly and took the microphone. I took a little tumble backstage, sorry to make a scene. I actually had a whole speech prepared, but I think I lost my notes in the fall, so I'll just have to wing it. Please bear with me. I'm up here today as the maid of honor, but I have another secret identity. I'm also the groom's sister. That's right, I'm Amelia Miller, Ethan's big sister. I'm 4 years older than him, and we've been fighting our whole lives. He's sweet to everyone except me, and I've always given him a hard time, probably more than he deserved. Sometimes, I'd go too far, and I'd know I should apologize. But every time I'd go to say it, my stupid big sister pride would get in the way, and I could never get the words out. So, for over a decade, I never said I was sorry. Today is a big day for my little brother and my dear friend. They're about to start their own happy family. I'm so happy for them, but also a little sad. It's complicated, but as the big sister, it's my duty to impart some wisdom. I want to tell you, Ethan, that it's okay to fall down. As long as you get back up, the wounds will heal, and the pain will fade with time. I know I haven't always been there for you, and you've been hurt because of it. And I promise you, in front of everyone here today, that I will never make that mistake again. I will never let anyone hurt you again. Can you forgive me? By the end of her speech, Amelia was sobbing. The audience, thinking she was just emotional about her brother getting married, smiled sympathetically. But I understood. I knew what she was really apologizing for. A lump formed in my throat, and my eyes began to well up with tears. Evelyn, beside me, squeezed my hand, then let it go. Go on, she said softly. I couldn't hold back any longer. I ran to the stage and pulled my sister into a hug. We held each other tight, our tears mingling as they fell. After the wedding, I changed into a more comfortable suit and took Evelyn's hand as we prepared to head to our new home. It was the first time we had held hands, our fingers intertwined, as husband and wife. I felt the warmth of her hand seep into mine, chasing away the chill from the air conditioning. We avoided the crowds at the main entrance and slipped out the back. The moment I pushed the door open, my eyes were drawn to a figure standing a few yards away. It was Chloe, not because of any lingering feelings, but because her face, bruised and swollen, was impossible to ignore. Seeing her like that, I finally understood why Amelia's dress had been torn. Of course, I was her baby brother. She wouldn't have held back. Chloe, oblivious to my thoughts, rushed towards me, but was stopped a few feet away. She was clearly agitated. She glared at Evelyn, who had stepped in front of me. Evelyn, she snarled, this doesn't concern you. Evelyn nodded, her expression calm. I know. I'm just letting you know that my husband doesn't want to see you. The word husband seemed to snap something in Chloe. She grabbed Evelyn's arm, her face contorted with rage. You bitch! Evelyn glanced down at Chloe's hand on her arm, then met her eyes with a cold stare. Are you sure you want to do that? A word of advice. Another injury to that left hand of yours, and it will be permanently damaged. You might never be able to hold a fork again. Before Chloe could respond, I stepped forward. Evelyn, why don't you go wait in the car? I can handle this. Evelyn clearly didn't want to leave us alone, but she respected my decision. She gently removed Chloe's hand from her arm and walked over to the car, watching us from a distance. I gave her a small wave and a reassuring smile. When I turned back to Chloe, my face was a mask of calm indifference. My voice was cold. You got my letter. I'm married now. We shouldn't see each other again. If you have anything else to say it now and let's be done with it. The flicker of hope that had just surfaced in Chloe's heart was extinguished, plunging her back into the depths of despair. Her face went pale, a flicker of panic in her eyes, but her voice was stubborn. Ethan, I never agreed to break up. It doesn't count. Come back to New York with me. I'm ready now. I'm ready to marry you. You promised me. You promised you would only ever marry me. As she frantically pulled out the glittering diamond ring, I raised my own hand, showing her my wedding band. The scar started several inches above my wrist and snaked all the way down to the knuckle of my ring finger. The dark, raised tissue was a stark and ugly contrast to my skin. Chloe looked at it for only a second before her eyes dropped to the ground, unable to meet my gaze. After a long silence, she finally managed to choke out the words. I'm sorry. I didn't need her apology. It had been weeks. The wound had scarred over and no longer hurt, just itched from time to time. I just wanted her to see the ring that now sat beside the scar. Evelyn and I had picked it out together. I had known it was the one the moment I saw it. A simple, elegant sapphire. It wasn't as flashy as the diamond in Chloe's hand, but it was perfect for us. I still remembered what Evelyn had said to me right after we bought it. "The truth is," she had said, "the moment I saw your picture, I had a feeling that we would spend the rest of our lives together. I know it sounds crazy, but I wanted you to know. When I make up my mind about something, I don't change it. That goes for things and for people. Please, just trust me on this." I had only said 3 words in reply. "I do too." My relationship with Chloe had been a mistake from the very beginning. It had taken me 8 years to realize I was on the wrong path. I wasn't about to turn back now, so I looked her straight in the eye and told her clearly and unequivocally, "Chloe, you were never in love with me. You were in love with the shadow of Julian you saw in me. I didn't break up with you because I was throwing a tantrum or because I wanted you to beg me to come back. I broke up with you because I don't love you anymore. If she lied, she doesn't deserve forgiveness. Do you remember saying that? You lied to me for 6 years. I don't want to forgive you. I don't want to hate you. I just want to be done with you once and for all." Every word was a knife, twisting in Chloe's heart. She couldn't accept it. She just kept shaking her head, over and over. I didn't look at her again. I turned and walked towards the woman who was waiting for me. I had a new family, a new career on the horizon. My wife was planning our honeymoon. My future was bright. "If you feel even a shred of guilt for what you did to me, then leave Los Angeles and stay out of my life forever. Let's just be strangers." With that, a slow smile spread across my face. I walked down the steps towards my new life, and I never looked back. It was a warm summer evening, the heat of the day still lingering in the air. I held Evelyn's hand as we strolled down the tree-lined street. A warm breeze rustled the leaves in the trees, making them dance like green waves on a sea. For the first time, I thought summer was a beautiful season. As the streetlights began to flicker on in the distance, Evelyn turned to me, her voice light. "How much further?" I smiled and pointed to a house just down the street. Evelyn looked up and saw a flash of brilliant, fiery red. In the deepening twilight, she couldn't quite make it out. "What is that?" she asked. Instead of answering, I pulled her into a run. As we got closer, I pushed open the gate, and she saw a garden full of poinciana trees, their branches heavy with vibrant, flame-colored blossoms. Evelyn's eyes lit up, and she tilted her head back to take in the breathtaking sight. A breeze rustled through the branches, sending a shower of delicate red petals down around us. Felt like a dream. I watched, mesmerized, as Evelyn happily picked a few of the blossoms and arranged them into a small bouquet for me. When she was done, I gently picked the petals from her hair, one by one. She looked down and saw her own reflection in my clear, bright eyes. She waved a hand in front of my face, pulling me from my thoughts. "What are you thinking about?" "I was thinking about whether we should take tomorrow off, or if I should take you to my parents' house to try my mom's cooking. I was thinking about what we still need for the house, and if you'll be comfortable living here." I rambled on, and Evelyn started to look a little overwhelmed. She gently pinched my cheek. "We're in such a romantic place. Can't you think about something a little more romantic?" "Well, can I think about kissing my wife?"